Hi everyone, it's Emma here, and today I am answering the question, what is the main cause of UTIs? So, as is a common theme with lots of my videos, I think it's often the case that understanding the root cause is the best way to help manage your treatment of any symptom or any condition. And with most things, there's often a variety of underlying causes, so if we can understand them a bit better, then hopefully we can help to manage those symptoms. So one of the first causes of UTIs is bacterial infections. So that is usually the main cause, and this happens usually in women, as bacteria transfers from the large intestine, from the back passage into the urethra, and because on the female anatomy everything's in quite close proximity, then this can happen more commonly generally in women. That's why men tend to have less instances of cystitis or UTIs unless it's related to another condition such as enlarged prostate. So that's usually the cause. And E. coli is one of the most common types of bacteria that can reside in the large intestine. There's different types of E. coli, but generally this bacteria can reside there without causing too much harm, depending on the type of the bacteria. But then if it travels into the urethra, it can cause problems in that area. So depending on the infection itself, we might need antibiotics, but in many cases we can manage it through diet and lifestyle tactics, as we'll go on to explore some other areas during this blog. But the other remedy that can really help if it is a confirmed or likely infection caused by bacteria, then the Uva-Arsena Echinacea complex can often help. So this is licensed in order to help the relief of urinary symptoms caused by cystitis or UTIs. So that would definitely be one to consider if the cause is likely to be that typical bacterial infection. Number two, another contributing factors is not going to the toilet enough, not peeing enough, and really a broader term is that dehydration. But we're talking more here about the bladder itself and what might be going on there to contribute to that. So by going to the toilet regularly, you are flushing through the bladder and the urinary tract, and therefore any bacteria that is residing there is likely to be flushed along. The other thing, if we're not going to the toilet so much, is that the urine might be more concentrated and a bit stagnant as well, and that more concentrated urine also provides a more suitable environment for the bacteria to survive. If your urine is quite dilute, then the conditions aren't quite so favourable for the bacteria. So that's why we really want to encourage people to drink plenty of water. But you can also consider some other helpful liquids if you're quite prone to UTIs. So things like your cranberry juice, and cranberry contains an element called D-mannose, and this helps to encourage the bacteria to stick to this element and then be flushed out rather than sticking to your urinary tract. So that's how that works. Number three, so we've spoken a bit about the environment of the bladder in terms of the urine and stuff, but actually, especially in women, as I've already mentioned, changes in the nearby environment to the urethra are very, very important as well. So this links to your digestive tract as well, and interestingly this would be how probiotics will work. So some of the beneficial things we would take, such as probiotics containing your good bacteria, they work by actually going through the large intestine and surviving there, thriving there, and then from the large intestine they then travel to the urethra, the vagina, whatever area we're trying to influence, and they would then have the positive influence there. So much like how those beneficial things work, that's when also the negatives can crop up as well, because that area is very much in close proximity. So this is why bacteria can travel from the vagina or the large intestine and potentially create issues. Also we have toiletries as well, so different soaps and things that we're using around that area can potentially affect the pH or the beneficial bacteria. There's always that balance of the good versus bad bacteria. So We have good bacteria which help protect the integrity of our large intestine, our urethra, our vagina. So if these good bacteria are affected by things such as strong soaps, then that's when the bad bacteria can risk creeping in. So this is just something really to consider. It's not just about your urinary tract or bladder, it's about that bigger picture, the vagina, the large intestine, and then what products you're using, both good and bad, in terms of toiletries and probiotics and things. So it's just about considering that whole nearby environment. Number 4, we have blood sugar regulation. So I've talked a bit about your water intake and how different fruit juices and things could potentially have an impact. And we also have our blood sugar regulation in terms of our blood sugar on a bigger scale to consider. And this is for a number of reasons, in that refined sugars can risk feeding any bad bacteria that are thriving within our system. But also further down the line, if improper blood sugar regulation or insulin resistance translates into diabetes, this can also have an even greater impact. So diabetes can start to more directly affect your urine. There might be higher sugars in your urine, and that can drive and feed these underlying bacterial infections. We also have the immune system to consider, which I'll touch on again. But if your blood sugar regulation is off, this can affect stress hormones such as adrenaline, and this can have an impact on your immune health as well. So it's really just about that bigger picture, about trying to support your diet with lots of healthy proteins, healthy fats, nice fibres, so we're not getting too many refined carbohydrates in there. And then nutrients such as magnesium in particular, which is found in fresh foods but is a lovely one to supplement on, can really support your insulin sensitivity as well. So it's a lovely one to consider. Number 5, a cause of UTIs could also be interstitial cystitis. So this is a different type of cystitis, in that usually an infection is not at the root of the cause. So this might be the case that you have had tests run and there's been no infection found, but you understand that you are experiencing the symptoms of cystitis. So interstitial cystitis is a bit of a tricky one. Sometimes to really, really pin down the cause, and again, this can quite often be individual, so it's something for you to really try and understand as an individual what factors might be contributing. There's usually some form of inflammation in and around the urinary tract, but as I've said, this can perhaps translate from other areas. So constipation, for example, is very often a driving factor or an underlying cause relating to interstitial cystitis. So that's definitely one I would urge you to consider. And I'll put a link in the description if anyone needs more direct tips. But of course, your water intake is a good one to start with. Stress as well. Stress could be linked to your digestion, or it could be adding to that inflammatory state. That you've got heightened pain sensitivity. Again, magnesium deficiencies could potentially be part of this bigger picture. So again, as I say, it's quite individual, but just some other areas to consider if there isn't an obvious infection at play, but you could still have another form of cystitis underlying. Number 6, in terms of another cause to consider of UTIs, is hormones. So there's a few factors here. First of all, I would say to consider your cycle. If you have quite a regular monthly cycle and you start to notice that your symptoms are cropping up at the same time each month, then that can help to confirm that it may indeed be hormones that are having an effect on your symptoms. As our hormone levels drop near the end of the month, around the time of our period, this can potentially make us a bit more vulnerable, and interesting, it can flag kind of areas of slight weakness. So it would be one to consider that if you're getting these symptoms around that time, that perhaps along the rest of the month you could be working towards supporting that area of your body. So that would be your water intake, you're watching your sugars, things like that, your blood sugar regulation. Just perhaps that area needs a bit of a focus. There's also contraceptives to consider, both hormonal and otherwise. So hormonal contraceptives are creating they're intentionally creating a hormone imbalance. So this, for whatever reason, might not agree with your body. You might notice certain symptoms, such as urinary tract symptoms. So that just would be one to consider, and consider chatting to your doctor potentially if they could change the type or the dose. Again, just trying to figure out what balance of hormones might not be working well for you. And of course, we can address hormone imbalance if you're not already on hormonal contraceptives. Something like Agnus Cassis potentially could prove helpful depending on your symptoms. Barrier methods as well, there's different ones, but just considering if these are having an influence. So cystitis after sex can be quite common, but tips like going to the toilet soon after and watching your toiletries and things like that are important. So just as important as those factors are, just considering your form of contraception as well, just in case it's having an influence, and we can tweak that accordingly. And the last point on my list is stress, and we have really covered this by now actually, but there's quite often links with stress and interstitial cystitis and immune function. Remember, with your immune system, we are relying on your immune system to detect that infection and to eradicate it. So if your immunity isn't quite strong enough, then those infections can slip through the net, and once they're quite established, then they can be trickier to manage. So just your stress management techniques, your herbs such as Passiflora. Again, stress is very individual, but we can, again, as an individual, try and determine if we may need to address the stress, and hopefully potentially that could then have a beneficial effect on recurrent cystitis. So hope that helps. As always, please do leave any comments or questions in the description and comments, and I will get back to you. I'll leave any additional information in the description for you. And please do subscribe to our AvoGo YouTube channel, and also hit the bell icon so you will be notified of any future videos. Thanks, take care, and speak soon.